Alright, so we're going to kick off with our video number 2, and today we're going to be talking about parents and how they impact talent development within youth athletes. The first thing I want to clearly identify is families, and that there are so many different ways to have a family, but what makes up a family. You do have your biological families, so blood relations. You have foster families. You have families that have one parent, or you also have some families to where the grandparents come in and raise the youth athlete. Now, families do play such an important role when it comes to the overall development of the child, not just talent-wise or athletic-wise, but just in general when it comes to the holistic or the personable approach. Today we're going to be talking about different support systems and what are certain things that parents can do or offer to the youth athlete. Also to the overall involvement of the parent in the sport or their child's sport can be a really big factor when it comes to how do they grow, or are they nurtured and whatnot. And then also we're going to be kind of giving you some hints and ideas of what can you do if you have a child in this type of situation. That could be a child who's 8 years old and just wants to try out different sports, or you have a child who's a little bit more specialized, what we talked about in the last video with the coaching, and what can I do to support my child. So we're going to be covering all these topics, and hope you guys enjoy, okay? I really want to focus on something that I see is one of the bigger factors when it comes to the development of any youth athlete, and it's what type of support does the family offer the child. Now, having a strong support structure not only helps the child's self-esteem, but also emotional development, and then also their ability to feel accomplished, or to even have some sort of competence. Support kind of gives the child the ability to go out and try things and yet not be afraid of the consequences as much. And this is really kind of going back to the 4 C's that we talked about earlier, building up confidence, and then also kind of building competence in their own ability within the sport as well. So support is a very critical thing that any family member can give a youth athlete. And I wrote down 4 main types of supports that family offers. And the first one's going to be emotional support. So this would look something like comforting a athlete after a loss, or let's say there's a pressure situation to where you have to you have to perform well at the finals of some sort of tournament. And so, the athlete's feeling nervous, is feeling very unsure. As a, let's say a parent, you can be there to support them and kind of calm them down, take away any type of anxiety, build up their confidence, just kind of help them guide through the situation. And, psychologically, you're kind of changing their state. But that emotional support is such a really, really profound impact, especially later on in life. The next one's going to be informational. So informational support is talking a little bit about, I don't want to say life experiences, but it's being a parent, essentially. And I know that sounds kind of muddled, but what I mean by that is, let's say you have a situation to where an athlete wants to transition from high school into college, and they're thinking, well, I don't know which college to go to, or should I do college ball, or should I even play league ball or league sport? There's some leagues that actually do pay you some money to compete at a lower level league, in kind of a preparation to major leagues or professional sports. And as a parent, informational support, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're giving your athlete all the information, based off of your own personal life experiences, and you're kind of helping them guide the way. And I know there's a lot of times to where you can have a parent that knows very little about the sport that your child's competing in. It's just, you can have the mother who knows nothing about, playing American football, for example. It's an extreme example, but it's an example, right? but yet she can still lend advice to her athlete who's playing football. And well, you have to rest, you have to train, you have to prepare. You have to learn to balance schoolwork with this and the other thing, just overall life skills. And that's where parents really come in handy when it comes to providing some information. Also, the next one's going to be tangible support. Now, tangible support is, definitely much more apparent to see. This can be in the form of, providing proper equipment to the athlete, paying for trips to go to these various tournaments, or paying for coaching, driving back and forth to practice sessions. These are kind of the physical labor aspects of support, just kind of making sure that the athlete has everything they need in order to succeed. Now, oftentimes too, this is, a cost, a little bit of an investment on this side too, but tangible support really does help make sure that that athlete goes on to the next level in whatever their sport is. And the last type of support that I wrote down here is companionship. Now this is really interesting because in traveling around the country or the state or whatnot, going to different tournaments or to go to practice sessions multiple times a week, you can build relationships with your kids in that way too. You guys are sharing experiences of, all the preparation that it takes to perform well at one game. Okay, so the second part that I want to talk about is how can parents help out their athlete depending on, what situation their child is in. So I broke this down into two different types of categories that parents can do just to help them along. The first category is parents with a child who is just trying out different sports. Now they're probably gonna be a little bit younger, so this is for the child who is 6 to 12, give or take. Hasn't really focused exactly on one sport, but is just wanting to see what's out there and how can we help the child in and of itself. So the first thing that is a must, an absolute must, is going to be positive feedback. So we want to make sure that the child feels secure and is accepted no matter what the situation. Especially for trying out different sports, we want to encourage any type of positive behavior, but giving great feedback. So good run, Timmy, or great shot, or hey, try that again next time. Always be encouraging, okay? Because at this young stage, or this young of an age, we want to make sure that we don't set certain conditions that the relationship moving forward between you and your child will kind of set in place. So again, we want to be very accepting. So positive feedback is a must. The next thing that we want to do is that we want to encourage, play with her. We want to engage with our child. We want to play with them essentially. So this can come in the form of, throwing a ball. Personal experience that I had was my mom, she taught me how to kick and punt footballs. Now, she played soccer when she was younger, but those were some really cool times that I had with my mom, just kicking a ball around in the park. I mean, it was pretty fun, actually. So, just going out there and just playing with, engaging with your child, I mean, those build A, lasting memories, but B, too, it kind of builds another positive connection between a certain sport and you, so that's just another way you two can come together. So that's always a good thing. And then at this young stage too, we want to avoid too much technical coaching, so to speak. And what I mean by that is, as a parent, let's say you do have experience with baseball and you could have been a professional baseball player. This age, again, they're just they're just doing the sport for fun. They may not be as serious with that. And in saying that, we want to try to prevent from being overly involved when it comes to the mechanics of everything. I mean, there's a reason why there are coaches, but also too, it's just, again, we're just trying to establish a play type of relationship. When I play ball with my parents, I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to have another coaching session. So again, we want to avoid over analytical advice or just technical information. We're not going to be focusing on coaching, so to speak. And we've touched on this a couple times, but at this young age too, 6 to 12, we really want to encourage our athletes to try different sports, experiment, see what they like, see what they don't like, kind of let them broaden their horizon, so to speak. So again, we call this sampling. So sport sampling is, just try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that. It's just really nice for the athlete to find out, hey, I really like this, kind of allow them to pick or make up their own choice. Now, the second group of parents are going to be dealing with athletes that are slightly older. So their age ranges are going to be about 13 to 18, or basically through all the teenage years and even into the young 20s. Their needs are going to be a little bit different because they're probably going to be focusing in on or specializing in one specific sport. Now, as a parent, what can you do to help out your child if they fall into this category? Well, the number one thing that I think is a must is definitely giving positive feedback. Again, I can't stress that enough, but positive feedback is so important because you have to imagine an athlete who has been involved in a very rigorous training schedule, and their time is really kind of engrossed into this one sport. And let's think about, okay, how does a coach impact your child? The amount of interaction that you might have. And oftentimes, coaches, they set certain conditions, in order to feel accepted or to be welcoming. You need to perform a certain way, and you'll be part of the team, or you won't be ridiculed by the coach. And it kind of goes the same with teammates as well. So as a parent, if you can provide positive feedback to your child, well, that kind of allows the athlete to decompress, or to kind of separate the sport with the other parts of their life as well. And it kind of gives them a chance to recover and then just to rest a little bit. It's always nice to be in a warm, nurturing environment that really doesn't have any conditions set on it. So, that's so important. Again, always positive feedback, good going, good try, hey, that's okay, let's work on this, let's, do this, always be encouraging. That's always a must. The second thing is, for a slightly older child, is going to be an increase in tangible support. So we talked a little bit earlier about tangible support being, paying for flights to different competitions, certain equipment, paying for coaching, many different things. Like I said, driving them to and from practice and all these meets and matches. So more and more tangible support is going to be needed, especially the more specified and the more competitive they get within their sport. Chances are there's going to be lots of flying around, going from major competition to major competition. So many things to kind of take into account. So if you can offer more tangible support, that's always a must. Kind of just get them going, make sure that they have everything they need to succeed. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about too is going into or talking to your child about transitions from one stage to the next. Now, what do I mean by transitions? Well, with a lot of these athletes, they can be very competitive in high school, and they could be a student and student athlete at the same time. But then now that they're approaching graduation in high school, well, we have a choice. Like, do we want to continue our sport into college? If your child is skillful enough to get a scholarship within the college, or if they're invited to play on a league play, and depending which country you're from, a developmental league, that's always an option as well too. So it's really important to lend that informational guidance, or just talk with your athlete, or talk with your student, to see, okay, what options do you want to have? Do you want to take this route? If you do, here's some benefits, here's some costs. Really sit down and have a grown-up conversation about these sort of things. I think oftentimes, parents can kind of just let nature take its course, but you have to imagine, as a student, these are actually pretty big transitions that they may not understand the ramifications of in the long run. So, it's really important to just kind of lend some life experiences and kind of give some recommendations. Again, just kind of following through that. Coaches can offer career or transitional advice as well too. I said that in the last video. Say that parents have just as big of an impact when it comes to talent development, just as coaches do. I would say maybe a little bit more. There are 4 different types of support that parents give their youth athletes. The first one, emotional support. We talked a little bit about being able to calm them or just to encourage them in hard times. The second one is informational. Third one, tangible. So traveling, equipment, expenses, essentially. And then the fourth one is companionship or overall networking ability. How can we help them, create new friends within this sport, create a support system within this sport. And then we talked a little bit about different types of supports that parents can offer to a child who's just trying out different sports. Play with them, encourage them, positive feedback. Especially younger children. And then we talked a little bit about what are some things as a parent you can do with your older child who's more specialized, more focused on one sport. Offering more tangible support, again, positive feedback, not trying to create too many conditions, letting the coaches coach. I added that one, but that's also a big thing too. So just like I said, some general guidelines for helping parents out with, okay, how can I help my child, how can I help them through their sport? These are some general guidelines, okay? Like I said, any more questions, please send the link down below. Pretty soon I'll be having video 3 up next, so keep your eyes open for that. All right, take care guys, bye.